So
Yeah.
I really start with educating people like everybody and everything is energy. Einstein even said the future of medicine is frequency and vibration. What I know is that emotions are supposed to be energy in motion. And when energy is no longer in motion, it starts to pool in the body. It causes dis-ease or dissonance in your frequency or dysfunction. And that's when you go to the doctor.
Hey, this is Rob Renee, and welcome back to the I Am Pain Free podcast. Got a super exciting guest today. We have Christine Genovese today here with us. I'm super excited. If you look at her background, what she's done and what she's doing to help people, it's just incredible. So stick around. You're going to really want to listen to this story. How are you, Christine?
Oh my gosh, I'm excited to be here, Rob. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I love your energy and the things that you're doing to help this world is awesome. What I like to do early on is just have you talk about your story, right? How did you get to where you are today?
Oh my gosh, I didn't just write a book, right? It all kind of happens. But I guess the best thing to do is to tell people I was a corporate turnaround specialist. Nice. And I was in my last corporate turnaround, which I thought was going to be the gig I would retire from. Okay.
Right.
And that was March 12th of 2020. Anything crazy going on?
Wow. Yeah. Sounds familiar. We have similar stories.
And I got a call from HR letting me know my services were no longer needed. And I was in complete shock because I had never been fired from a job before. So to be in your early 50s, out of work, going in the middle of COVID when no one's hiring. Yeah, I had a little bit of a panic moment, but it was weird because I had just gotten a performance bonus. So I really didn't see this coming. And I'm like, we're on year one of a planned 3-year turnaround. We're starting to make the turn. Where's this coming from? And so I texted my boss, who was the COO at the time, and he says to me, I said, I just got fired. He goes, me too. I'm like, what?
Whoa.
We had actually wanted to hire people in the fourth quarter. The CEO wouldn't let us do it, said, nope, we got to hold the line on expenses. And my boss and I just put together the board deck because March 12th happened to be a Thursday. We're supposed to go to a board meeting on Monday. And we had a board deck showing that had we been able to hire the people we needed, not only would we have met the objectives of Q1, we would have exceeded them. So the CEO decided to save himself and got rid of the two of us, walked in the boardroom and said, we didn't hire enough people. And he went on a hiring spree.
Oh, man. That's mean. That's just mean.
Well, karma has a way of working things out.
Yes.
So he eventually, there was a board investigation. He was removed and he put a crony in, of course, to continue on in his stead. And ran the company summarily into the ground. So,
Yikes.
Yeah, so there's always that karma. So now I've got, what do I do with my life? And I spoke to somebody, a really good friend of mine, and they said, rather than just jumping back into another job, why don't you really think about what do you really want to do with the rest of your life? And so I took the opportunity to go within and to do a lot of prayer and meditation and connecting with the divine. And I was given, fortunately, a 9-month runway to figure it out. And that is how Soul Intelligence was born.
That's so neat. That's so neat.
Yeah, the divine had to pluck me out of corporate America. Yes. I wasn't going to leave unless he bounced me out. So
yeah, Christine, it's so funny. Just to segue real quick, that's almost exactly the same thing that happened to me. Like literally, I was in sales, right? And when the pandemic hit, they were like, "Hey, you can't travel." Right. And so I was a traveling sales guy and I lived in the middle of Central Oregon. Right. So I had to get on an airplane to actually go see clients. And they're like, we're just going to downsize while we're going through this process to see what happens. And that was the first time in my life where I actually had time to try to sit back and understand what's going on in the world. And man, what a blessing that has been.
I know everybody got the big time out. And I think it really caused everyone to really take a pause and go within and start looking at the things that really do matter. And I do think that is really our universal reset point.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. So I'm super excited to learn how you walked through that. And then what did you do? What did you create? Obviously, you hinted that you wrote a book, which is super cool.
I did.
I'm real interested in understanding the story.
Oh, for sure. So what is soul intelligence? I probably ought to start with that, right? People are like, okay, what is that? It's like trusting your inner knowing, right? We all know about IQ, right? And how important it is to have the wherewithal and the smarts. And we understood about EQ when we started to move into the 90s and how important it was to be emotionally intelligent. How you say what you say is important. But what I talk about is soul intelligence. And that's really that inner knowing when you're in full alignment with your mission, your vision, your values, and your purpose. And you feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. And being able to get to the soul intelligence level, we have to be quiet. And I'm a type A. That's really hard.
He had to strap you down on the couch.
Exactly. It takes a lot of work to get there. But it's really paying attention. And I used all of my background and my knowledge. And to be honest with you, it almost felt like a remembering, like something I've always known that just came forth. And so understanding quantum physics, understanding how energy works, like you and I would not be seeing each other at this moment through this program, through the internet, without an energy exchange and energy transfer. And we don't think about that, right? We think we're physical, we're corporal. We don't remember we're protons, neutrons, electrons with an electromagnetic field, right?
Yeah, it was one of my biggest aha moments was when because one of my things that happened to me is I got introduced to quantum energy. And I was like, quantum what? And to learn about how the body is made up of energy, even down to the cellular level, and it interacts, our bodies, our cells interact via vibration, which puts off frequencies and interacts with frequencies. And those are things that when people talk about frequencies and energy, I thought they were crazy. I'm like, that stuff.
Right.
And now it's like, oh my gosh, we are that. So
and that
cool.
is the truth, right? So I really start with educating people like everybody and everything is energy. Einstein even said the future of medicine is frequency and vibration, to your point.
Amen. One of my favorite quotes.
Yeah. And we're seeing studies that come out now about how they're using frequency to get rid of cancerous cells in the body. I know, amen, without having to do the crazy chemo and things like that. What I know is that emotions are supposed to be energy in motion. And when energy is no longer in motion, it starts to pool in the body. It causes dis-ease or dissonance in your frequency or dysfunction. And that's when you go to the doctor. And I am very lucky that I get to work in the field of functional medicine and integrated medicine and work with incredible minds that want to heal people holistically and completely.
Amen.
Right? And I have the opportunity to work with their patients on a mental and emotional level, because with everything that's going wrong in the physical body is really just a barometer to what's going on in the subconscious mind. And the subconscious is running the show 95% of the time. Can you believe all that strategizing, thinking, contemplating, figuring? It's all up here in our brain, right? And it's only 5% of our mind. It just blows me away. And there's only a 2-foot wide field around our brain where there's a 6-foot wide field around our heart. Right. And so it magnifies. So emotions, if you talk about quantum, okay, the electromagnetic spark in the field, that idea, that intuition, that intellect, that's the spark in the electric part of the electromagnetic field. But what collapses the particle wave and magnetizes things to you, brings it into your field of awareness, is emotion. And so when you think about everything that goes on in the body, if we don't get rid of those emotions, there's lots of different ways to do it, right? Therapy's been getting people to relive the trauma and cry it out for years. You go do something physical to try and move the energy out of your body. But when you leave it in there and it's stuck, or you push it down or you suppress it, that's when you develop chronic diseases.
Yeah, it manifests somewhere, right? It really does.
Because we know a law of physics is energy, once it's created, can't be destroyed. Right? It has to be transmuted. It has to move. It has to go somewhere. So if it doesn't go anywhere, it will stay in the body and it will wreak havoc. So it could be something as innocent as, oh, I got a pain in my neck on the right side of my body is male. Oh yeah, my boss is giving me a hard time. I'm being inflexible. I'm not turning my head. Or it could be something more difficult or that manifests. Certain types of cancers, like breast cancer for women in particular, is typically giving out and not giving enough to oneself, like nurturing others instead of taking care of themselves. And so what I do is I help get to the energetic, emotional root cause of all dis-ease in the body. Because since there's so many, most of the visits, doctor visits today, I think about 90% of them, believe it or not, are for chronic conditions, things that won't heal.
Yeah,
right?
And a lot of those are. I have the I Am Pain Free podcast, right? So,
amen.
Pain is one of the major reasons, and then the second one is fatigue.
Yes.
Right? You look at those two, and that's a really large majority of people going to the going to the doctor. It's
So
just
let's
like
talk about
incredible.
fatigue. I know that's a passion of yours, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about fatigue.
All right. So we're talking about fatigue. We're usually talking about the adrenals, right? The adrenal glands and how we consume energy. The adrenal glands are directly linked to a person's energy. So hypoactivity, right? Okay, not hyper, the spazzy kind, but the hypo, lack of activity, makes somebody feel tired, like this lack of energy, loss of libido. And that can be feeling like a loss from a group or a family or a clan, or kind of feeling scared. And extreme tiredness is associated with that lack of vitality. So lack of energy or fatigue is all about feeling emotionally unbalanced and unstable. Like one moment you're happy and content, and the next you feel sad and hopeless. A lot of people have frequent bouts of paranoia, panic attacks, fear, anxiety, feeling like you went the wrong direction in life, difficulty making decisions, or even feeling stuck in that fight or flight response with the nervous system. And these are things, the bouts of depression, the emptiness, the worthlessness, or exhaustion that can come up. These are things that I actually can help treat with soul intelligence. We can get to the root cause and move those energies out. Now, there's other things that we can take in the physical, because the other side of Christine is she's the chief growth officer for a nutraceutical company called Nutritional Frontiers. And we work with healthcare professionals, and we have a product called Power Fuel, which helps give you cellular energy and get your mitochondria moving. And as a matter of fact, I took some. It was in my drink before I came on to record this podcast, because I was like, I want to get my energy going. So instead of reaching for a cup of coffee in the afternoon, I use that mix, right? Cleaner than Gatorade and not as sweet, thank goodness.
Right.
But things like that you can do to help your body in the physical while you're diving into what is my body really telling me? Right. Why am I always fatigued? And what is the underlying emotional root cause?
Yeah, it is amazing to me how the whole mind, body, spirit connection thing is so important. And you're talking exactly that concept, right? You're talking the body, it maybe is lacking nutrients, and you might have to give it nutrients and for the body to start feeling better. But that doesn't mean the mind and the spirit are in line with that. So you might be getting your body better, but if you don't fix the mind and the spirit in coordination with it, you still have issues and problems. And so I love your soul intelligence methodology, because you're helping people with more than just one area, right? You're helping them with all of them, which is amazing. So,
well, we talk holistic healing, right? We're talking about healing mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, ultimately energetically. So it's in all ways, right? Because we're energetic beings, to your point. You talked about it going down to the cellular level. We actually have, when you think about your body, it's like mostly water, and we have so much electricity running through our body. And people are like, what? I'm like,
I know. Yeah, most people just don't understand that. I literally didn't. So, but when you start understanding that, then things start making a lot more sense. You're like, oh, wow, that's why there's just so many different things. Like you said, the energy field around us, like you said, your heart, like 99% of the people I talk to have no understanding of that. And it's so real, and it's so important once you do understand that. And you can everybody's familiar with walking into a room and you just like, it's either really negative, right? Or it's really positive. And it's like, when you get into a really negative room, you know it, right? You can feel it. And so it's just, we personally can give off that same thing. We can give off a negative emotion, or we can give off an amazing, healthy emotion. And that field around us is so important, because it affects both us as it affects other people, which I think most people just don't get. A love that you talked about that and know about that and are helping people related to that. So exciting.
Absolutely. A soul intelligence session acts very much like this podcast. I usually do it via Zoom, and I have a book of charts that I use and a pendulum to be able to discern what information I need in order to help the person heal. So the cool thing is, you don't have to relive the trauma. We're able to shift this up and out of the body in a painless way. And most of the time, it, as you said, it's in the cells, right? Your cells remember, and it holds energy. And so we have to get it to shift and to move. And a lot of times people don't know what's causing the issue. That's the biggest problem, because it's in the subconscious. We don't know exactly what it is. If you've had major traumatic events in your life, yes, you might recall it. Maybe you think you've worked through it. And sometimes, even though we think we've worked through it, the body's, nope, you're not really done with that yet. We need to get it up and out.
Yeah.
But in October, I did write a book, since you were so kind to mention it.
Awesome.
It's called
Healing Through, put it a little bit more in the center there. Okay,
sorry.
gotcha.
Healing Through Soul Intelligence. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Audible. I actually went out to LA and recorded it.
Did you really? Good.
Yeah.
Good
I had
job.
several people tell me it feels like they're getting a healing because they hear me and my voice reading it, which has been cool.
I love it.
But I just got an award from Best Holistic Life magazine this week. It's been listed as 2025 Book of the Year.
Wow, that's exciting. Congratulations.
I know. I'm like really
amazing.
thrilled. Yeah, it's been really amazing. The foreword's actually written by a triple board certified MD who's had experience with my method and totally believes in what's all the things. And so the book actually has a lot of stories of people I've helped heal.
Oh, neat. Let's share one with us. Which one's a good one to share with us?
Oh my gosh, I have so many of them.
I'll bet.
Even beyond like my own personal journey.
Let's do that. Let's start there first.
Okay. All right. Let me pick one. I've written about this one recently. It's been top of mind for me. So I mentioned to you my origin story, basically working in corporate America.
Yeah.
And I grew up at a time when it was pretty male dominated, still is, but was pretty male dominated. And so I grew up thinking that women were weak. Okay. Now you may see I'm actually a woman, but at the time I felt like I had to carry 2 cases of beer up 3 flights of stairs just because the guys could do it. Right. I literally hit the glass ceiling. I lived through that period when it was very real and you had to work twice as hard to get the same pay. And so I started to become like the guys. I learned to use crass language and I would make sure I would stay up on sports statistics and I would make fun of anyone that showed emotion in the workplace. And I really pushed down all my femininity because I felt that wasn't a strength and I needed to be more like a man to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That came at a price. My body let me know it. I went in for a normal routine gynecological exam and I was told that I had abnormal cells. So they did the in-office procedure and cut the cells out and sent them away. And then they called me and they said, yeah, there's too many of them. We're going to have to take you into the hospital and do a conical biopsy where they cut your cervix.
Oh,
and I was like, whoa, I'm freaking out now because the big C word. When you get that threat, that cancer scare, right, it makes you stop for a minute. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I got to figure out why this is happening and what can I do about it? And I hadn't developed the method at that time, but I was very open to spirituality and alternative healing. And so I called every healer I knew. And I sat with one woman and she had told me, you need to get in touch with your divine feminine. And at the time I went, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah,
what am I, my hair long? Wear dress? What am I? And so I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then I had another person share with me, why don't you research like strong women in history? So I started reading about Sekhmet and Isis and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and like all kinds of incredibly strong, powerful women, Joan of Arc, like leaders. And going, oh, yeah, way back when we were actually ruled by women who were pretty powerful and incredible and able to withstand lots of pain and trauma.
Because you can imagine back then, right? Can you imagine the male versus female dominance back when Joan of Arc was just, it's like amazing that there people like her existed because it was so much worse probably back then. I'm just imagining, I don't know.
But so when you think about it, so that was the theme. And then I had another girlfriend who was an energetic acupuncturist that did work for me, somebody else that did massage therapy. And I had a friend who said to me, she goes, you know what, by the time you go in for that biopsy, it's going to be gone. And why don't you, and I went, you know what? Okay, I think you're right. So I started I started dancing because I was like, I need to get some energy moving down here, move the energy in my hip.
Yeah.
The sacral chakra is actually where our sexual organs are. It's the second major energy center in our bodies. And that's our womb space. That's where we birth babies. And that's where we birth businesses. It's also where men have the seat of their manhood. Their prostate is in the same area. It's also where one of the reasons why so many men, when they retire, develop prostate cancer, because that's the seat of their manhood. And they're no longer producing. They don't feel like they have a purpose. And so the energy goes there and attacks the prostate. So for a woman, it's the cervix. And I got to tell you, this is so funny because I was recalling this story the other day. I actually remember myself being so emotionally disconnected from my own body going, I'm done having kids. I don't really need those parts. They can just take them out. I'm like, what was he thinking? What? I'm totally down with a hysterectomy. What's the matter with me?
Right. What the heck?
I started praying every day, and I started dancing, moving my hips, seeing my cells vibrating, happy, everything being gone. And so I went in for the procedure, and as my friend predicted, it was gone. And so the doctor, I'll never forget my OBGYN's face, because she came out and we must have cut it all out. I'm like, yeah, we must have.
Yeah.
So was it
the ultimate healer cut it all out?
That's what I'm saying. I really think it was doing all of the things, right? I do believe that it was the mental wherewithal, learning about the divine feminine, embracing my femininity. I think it was also me doing the work energetically, moving the energy down there, seeing the cells vibrate healthy. I think it was all of it, not one thing or the other thing.
I'm a big believer in prayer, so I love the fact that you said you prayed every day, right? So one of the things I'm working on is a book about praying for healing. So I love that you mentioned that piece of it. But I love also that you're talking about, hey, it was the collection of things, not just one thing that helped me through that. So it's really awesome that you recognize that.
Right? Like holistic healing, right?
Yeah.
Like healing the whole person on multiple levels.
Yeah.
And so specific to soul intelligence, I had a doctor that I was working with, and she couldn't walk on her foot, okay, for several months. This is a doctor, okay? Wow. Let's just think about that in and of itself. Heal thyself. Let's talk about that. Okay. So she calls me and she's, okay, I want to do a session. So we do a Zoom session. She tells me she's not been able to walk on her foot, and that she also had a cold. I was like, okay, we did one session, okay, which is like roughly an hour's worth of time, all right? The next day, she sent me a text. She goes, Christine, I was crawling from my office to the restroom because I couldn't put any weight on my foot. And she goes, I was able to walk to the bathroom, and she goes, and my cold is gone. And so what came up in her session, this is a story in the book, but what came up in her session was, because I was like, what's going on? Who are these men in your life? Like, I could see, like, using the charts, that there were a bunch of men that weren't listening to her, paying attention to her. She's like, I've had this contractor in my house. I have the lawyer. We've been fighting. They didn't do the work they were supposed to do. My lawyer's not moving it forward. They're not moving it forward. I go, well, that's the foot. You're not able to move forward. You're stuck. So you can't step forward. You can't move forward. I go, we need to clear this block. And I said, and then you're going to call your attorney tomorrow, and you're going to get on the phone, and you're going to rattle their cage and get them moving. We had to take right action too in the physical. But literally, she was able to walk. And the cold was really about mental confusion, right? When we get a cold, we're just stuck in our heads. And so that one was pretty easy to clear. But it's fascinating when you start looking at the correlation between the physical body and what's going on mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, I love that story, because you're right. You talked about the whole thing, right? It's like you said, holistic healing. You helped her with the mental part of it, but then also the physical part of it, right? You got to go actually make an action. You have to do something. And in your case too, it was a similar thing, right? You had to deal with a lot of different areas of your life, and you had to be physical, right? You had to do dancing, like you mentioned, and to get your body flowing and moving, because we are an energetic being. We're more than just the physical, right? So so excited. I love your methodology and love your system is awesome.
Thank you. Like I said, my big mission is to see this in wellness centers across the country. I do have an online course that I want to teach other people my method. So it's an evergreen course, meaning you can start at any time, and it's available online. And I do coaching in that program once a week. So people do have access to me, and I have, plenty of monthly programs and ability to work with people who are interested in learning more about my method on my website.
Nice. Yeah, we'll make sure that we have all of the links to your program, as well as to your book and to your website. So we'll put those in the show notes and make sure that we get those out to everybody, because I want to make sure people understand more about you, and how I love that your mission is to get it out to these holistic centers across the country. Because I, in my opinion, with this whole MAHA movement, the Make America Healthy Again movement, that people are going to start realizing that this whole, what I call the medical cartel, has been in charge of our health system for almost 100 years, right? Like when I was doing research, like early in the 1900s is when I found how our medical system was really hijacked. But now people are becoming much more aware, right? And this Maha movement is like getting people more aware finally, and just yay, people are starting to understand that we can treat the body holistically. And so I think there's going to be lots and lots of these centers across the country and across the world, and they need that program, right? They need your program in those so that they can treat people much more than just the physical, right? Because people are going to go there initially because I have pain, or I am exhausted, or I can't walk to the bathroom like the doctor, right? And I need to get help. And then when you keep people come in there and they can get treated holistically, it's just going to heal people in such a more dramatic fashion. And so, yeah, I just love what you do, and I want to help you get it out there everywhere because it's so important.
When you think about when you go to the doctor's office, you're not just telling them about what's going on in your physical body, like whatever ailments. They're always like, what's going on at home? What's going on at work?
But the problem is most doctors don't do that, right? In my opinion,
I work with
because you're dealing with holistic practitioners, but the medical system in and of itself, most of them are not asking those questions. Right. They're only asking about the physical. So that's why I love what you're doing, because we need to educate everybody to get that to even during medical school, right? We need to change the schools so people understand that, because I'll bet you money, and a lot of money, that those things are not being taught during their residency or their school system. It's just not being taught, and it needs to be. And that's why these doctors just come and say, I literally was meeting with a practitioner earlier today talking about my heart. And did they ask me anything about the stuff we're talking about, my past from upbringing or anything related to other than the physical?
Probably not.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. Right.
So it's really fascinating.
It's just amazing. Right. So
yeah. Well,
anyway, that's why I love what you do, because we need to get it out there everywhere.
But when you think about everything, that's why it's a joke. Like, you can't separate your work life from your personal life. It's your life. It's all your stuff. All your stuff affects the other parts of your stuff. Right. You can try and push it away or suppress it for a little while, or busy yourself with work because you don't want to deal with what's going on. Right. But it eventually bubbles up. Right. Then you have to address it and you have to deal with it.
Yeah,
and that's
what I'm dealing with a holistic practitioner who works on the NLT process, which is really talking about the suppression of something that happened to you, and it manifests itself somewhere in your body, and they're able to release that. It's like when I started understanding that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. But people just don't understand that. And so I think the way you're doing things just is helping people understand that, hey, we're more than just the physical. We can talk about the soul intelligence. I'm a pretty common sense person, right? I'm a pretty down to earth, grounded, spiritual person. And when I try and talk to people about it, even just when you think about what causes dis-ease in the body, poor nutrition is one of the biggest problems we have in our country, right? Because the soil's depleted, and the nutrients and all of what we need to get out of the food to generate energy, right? 70% of our food is ultra processed food right now. And then the nutrients that we grow our vegetables in is depleted. So the actual nutrients in the vegetables is nowhere near what it used to be. Right? It's just like,
it's the cycle. But when you think about it, we know from using computers, garbage in, garbage out. What do you think your body's garbage in? You're going to get garbage out.
I'm on that horse in a big way.
That in medical school blows me away.
Yeah.
If we're lucky, they get one nutrition course at best.
Yeah, if that. And that's over what most doctors go to school for 12 years, and they had one semester of nutrition, which really should be the foundation of the human body, because your body, in my opinion, God made everything on this earth for us, and that we need to utilize those nutrients, because guess what? He made this super incredible complex body that utilizes those nutrients to operate. And when your body starts operating effectively, it starts healing itself. He made it to heal itself. But we just trash it, right? We don't give it the right food. We don't get the right sun. We don't get the right air. We don't get the right water, right? We don't treat ourselves.
Don't get me started on toxicity, man, because it's everywhere.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, even who you're around or what you listen to, you have to think about those things as toxins.
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody... Right? Yeah. Everybody can think about an energy vampire, right? Like someone that you see their name come up on your cell phone, you're like, ugh. But you have to think about how much of your energy you're giving out to other people. Right. And what do you surround yourself? And what does that toxicity look like? Not just the chemicals in your home or the glyphosate, God forbid, in the grass, but the Roundup, but also, which is a huge endocrine disruptor, which is a whole nother story. But there's a lot of toxicity we have to manage on a daily basis. And you just think about, what am I putting into my mind? So thank goodness your listeners are listening to good stuff right here. There's not a whole lot. I rarely watch television because most of it is doom and gloom, right?
Yeah, that's all negative, right? Almost all of it. And then what I found out that made me even more mad was that most of it's controlled information, that even made me more mad. So I was like, you have to unplug from that and then start. One of the things that you have alluded to is the power of your mind, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, inputs are coming into us. But hey, if we can translate those and have things become positive, and we speak life into ourselves, we speak life into others, that is a huge way to take that negativity and just flip it over. And all of a sudden you start being positive about things, and you exude that positive energy, and you tell yourself positive things, and you can transform your life in a major way.
Amen. Like I said, I'm really happy to be a part of the new wave of healing. It was really interesting. Someone had sent me an article that talked about how, with the invention of AI, or the further advances of AI, what is that going to do to the job market and where the job's going to be? And one of the number one things it said was what AI can't do. And so it was really interesting to see, energy healers and energy medicine. And I was like, yay, I'm on the list. All right, I made
you can't take my job this time. I love it. You're right. You're so right, because AI has no clue about us being an energetic being, right? And having a mind, body, spirit connection. It just knows the ones and zeros and what it's been trained on, and it hasn't been trained on any of that.
Well, it's interesting because I do write for several publications now, and they're like, we got to make sure, that the content is 70% yours. It can only be 30% AI. And I'm like, I never even thought about that, because when I'm writing about emotions and all of this stuff, so I write, the only thing I've ever used AI for is edit, just to make sure that it's formatted properly and it looks right. And so I was like, wow, I never even thought about that. How much of what we're reading isn't really generated? And they said, you can tell because there's a lack of emotional connection in the writing. And I went, oh, I'm going to have to start looking out for that now. And can I tell, is this real or is AI?
Yeah, it's going to be harder and harder to understand and find out what is real and what is not real soon, which is intriguing. But I think you're right in the respect that people who are energy healers and people are talking about how to treat the body in this fashion, that AI can't replicate that, right? You see these robots that are becoming all popular and they're going to start taking over lots of things.
Yeah.
The robot's not going to be able to do what you do, right? The robot's not going to understand the energy and listen to somebody and understand it and articulate it, and then know how that could potentially change a human.
Great. So anybody listening out there that's thinking about switching professions, I'm happy to teach them
take this course, read this book, and then go find the nearest holistic center and practice and say, hey, you need this service and I'm here to provide it for you.
Absolutely. Rob, it's been a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, you're so amazing, Christine. I really appreciate you. This has been phenomenal. I could talk with you for hours.
I know, you're my kind of people.
Yeah, exactly. We're so connected, and we just met each other, but we're soul connected for sure.
Absolutely.
I love what you do, and I'm super excited to get the word out with what you do, and I believe we're going to be connected, doing a lot of things in the future. Thank you so much for being on the I Am Pain Free podcast and sharing your wonderful story, your background, and your book and your course. And we'll make sure people have access to all of those. And I wish you lots and lots of luck, and just pray that we can get your service in all these holistic practices, and then not even into just holistic practices, but into standard healthcare providers all across the country, because Lord knows we need it.
Thank goodness. Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate your generosity and support. And hopefully everybody will check out soulintelligencemethod.com and learn more about me and how they might be able to help heal others.
Perfect. That sounds like a wonderful plan. And with that, we're going to sign off. Thank you very much, Christine, for being on the show. And we'll have you on again, and we'll have some further conversations in the future, I hope.
I love it. Thanks so much, Rob.
All right. God bless. Many of you know my focus at the I Am Pain Free podcast is help as many people get pain free as possible. And we strive to use all natural and alternative therapies to accomplish that goal. Well, today I'm thrilled to introduce to you a revolutionary product that aligns perfectly with our mission of natural health and well-being. It's called Exodus by Exodus Strong. At Exodus Strong, their mission is to help you break free from the grip of big pharma and embrace natural solutions that promote vibrant health. With a foundation rooted in the wisdom of the Bible, the all-natural supplement harnesses the power of 7 key ingredients specifically mentioned in the scriptures. The flagship product Exodus is designed to be transformational, providing benefits such as energy enhancement, stress relief, blood sugar stabilization, pain relief, and anti-inflammation. So join the movement, right, to help them get 1 million new people to read the Bible every day and transform their health naturally. When you purchase Exodus, use code IAPF at checkout to receive a special free gift with your order. It's time to exit the old you and step into a new chapter of vitality and well-being. To get there, you go to exodusstrong.com. So it's Exodus, EXODUS, STRONG.com. And check out and use that IAPF for the I Am Pain Free podcast. And then you'll experience the benefits of the Exodus mineral blend. This mineral blend is amazing. It's got the molecular hydrogen generating formula that's backed by hundreds of scientific studies. So begin your journey feeling great and looking great. Don't miss the opportunity to take control of your health the all natural way. So go check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it.